Right now, Zimbabwe's politics feels more like a high-stakes family feud than a typical democracy. Now, the ruling party, ZANU-PF, is caught up in an intense internal power struggle over who will eventually take over from President Mnangagwa. Now, these behind-the-scenes battles have become the only game in town because the party holds all the cards. Their internal drama ends up shaping the country's future more than any actual laws or even public debates do at the same time. The opposition, the group that's supposed to keep the government in check, is basically falling apart. And they've been hit hard by infighting and government pressure, leaving them too scattered to put up a real fight. So because the other team is so weak, the infighting within the ruling party has completely taken over the spotlight, leaving regular people to watch from the sidelines while leaders focus more on keeping their seats than fixing the economy. Joining us to speak on this, we have Linda Tsungirirai Masarira. She's President, Labour, Economists and African Democrats in Harare, Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, Linda, for joining us.
I would like to also thank you for inviting me to this pertinent debate.
It's a pleasure. Now, President Mnangagwa constantly says that he is a stickler for the Constitution. Yet the ED 2030 slogan, pushing for him to stay past his term, is everywhere. Is his silence a tactical wink and a nod to a third term? What do you think?
From my perspective, with the homework that I have done, it is some sort of factionalism that is happening within the ZANU-PF. And the President, Emerson Mnangagwa, is on record saying that he's a constitutionalist and that he's going to let elections happen in 2028. And we've never had the President himself actually speaking about it. And he is actually the first secretary of ZANU-PF. So whatever anyone else says, I don't think it holds any water at this juncture, because the President himself has never actually proclaimed that they are going to continue until 2030. I think that is the position that was set by the President of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa. Everything else, I think it is coming from rivalry, factionalism, those who think that they cannot make it into parliament in 2028, and those who think that their political careers are over. So I think it's a dog-eat-dog situation where other people want to survive at all costs in this political economy in Zimbabwe.
So, we can't forget how the president came to power, with rumors of a massive rift between him and Vice President Chiwenga. So what do you think? Do you think that the military is again positioned as the ultimate referee in this internal fight?
From my perspective as a person who lives in Zimbabwe, I think that the rivalry between President Mnangagwa and the Vice President VP Chiwenga is actually created to create a certain scenario of uncertainty within the political economy. Because honestly, if they were not on the same book, I don't think they would have had governed together thus far. But what we have seen is unity of purpose. We have seen them leading together, and we've actually seen them attending events together and laughing together. So from my perspective, I think sometimes we end up consuming a lot of propaganda from social media, and then we want to turn it into reality. From my perspective, I really don't think I've seen any real rivalry between the two, but I've seen brothers leading together and trying to do their best for Zimbabwe.
All right, so I'm being told that Dr. Abigale Mupambi, political analyst, SADC region in Zimbabwe, has actually joined us. Thank you so much for joining, Dr. Mupambi.
Thank you so very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Now, let's have your thoughts, because we're seeing the president's family members, moving into key government and business roles. Is this about policy, or are we watching the creation of a first family dynasty, designed to protect assets after 2028?
Well, maybe I missed some of what you have asked, but I think you are speaking about the so-called consolidation of the first family dynasty. Is this what you have asked?
Yes, the first family. Yes, that's it.
Well, speaking about the political economy at the moment, I think I've been my attention has been drawn to the so-called power struggles within the ruling ZANU-PF. What I want to put clearly at the moment is that I don't foresee power struggles within the ZANU-PF, but of course I see a determination to consolidate power within the sectors of ZANU-PF. Whatever that is being displayed in my view as fights within ZANU-PF, for me is quite elliptic, because we all know that from history, ZANU-PF has these tendencies of lipstick fights, but when it comes to the real game, the real ball, they forget about everything, consolidate and go. Right now, speaking about the 2030 agenda, speaking about even the 2028 that we are faced with as an electoral cycle, if ZANU-PF is to go right now today on the race, they will show you their true colors. Their focus is simple: consolidation of power at any cost. That's what I'm foreseeing. So the issue around amassing of resources, the issue about presidential empowerment schemes, the issue about, of course, we may have here and there loopholes of these resources within the corridors of ZANU-PF and its government. All this is happening, but the center matrix is the consolidation of power, which I'm sure right now ZANU-PF is at its strongest when we speak about when we speak about the political economy of the party, the politics of the party itself, and the entire national politics. At the moment, they managed to finish the opposition. There is no opposition to talk of. Opposition, one of the opposition leader, my friend there, I saw Madame Linda Masarira. I'm sorry to say this. They are in their threes and fours. The ZANU-PF is at its strongest. They are enjoying monopoly of the political space given to them as burnout, of course, because of the fights within the continued fights and the splits within the opposition sectors.
All right, so let's also find out from Linda. Linda, we've talked about First Family Dynasty, and human rights groups have actually said that the courts and police are being used to settle parties' cause. Has ZANU-PF stopped being a political party and simply become a state-run machine for elite survival?
I'm not in a position to understand what is really happening within the ZANU-PF, but I have tried to do my own homework to try and see what really is going on as an emerging party that also wants to hold our government accountable. We've been holding government accountable, but that also wants to get into power someday. But what we've realized, like what my sister Abigale was saying, is that everything that ZANU-PF is doing is about consolidation of power. And in as much as we want to come up with all kinds of semantics, all kinds of judgments about what's happening in ZANU-PF, from my perspective, is their own political survival strategy, of which our division in opposition is costing us a lot, because we're failing to have unity of purpose and we're suffering from infiltration. And at the end of the day, ZANU-PF will emerge the victors until we find each other as opposition and say we are ready to work together to be able to dismantle the ZANU-PF machinery.
So, I'm actually tempted to ask what the opposition is doing about, what is happening, because when Nelson Chamisa walked away from the CCC, he did say that it was polluted and hijacked by the state. So without a clear leader, has the opposition moved from a unified force to total irrelevance? And this is for you, Dr. Mupambi.
I think the whole world needs to know this. Chamisa actually presided over the destruction of the opposition, because when he usurped power, when he took over power, not constitutionally, because he didn't do it in a constitutional manner, he elbowed out a lot of leaders, myself included. And within his tenure as the president of the opposition, he was busy elbowing out other leaders, leaving himself as the sole leader of the political party that eventually led to elections in 2023, where he went into elections without a constitution, without polling agents in some polling stations, no accountability, etc., etc. Nelson Chamisa is not a saint, as the world wants to allude to about him. He has done a lot of damage to the opposition structures in this country. And any sane Zimbabwean is not really still looking up to him as an opposition figure in Zimbabwe right now, because he's done a lot of damage in opposition politics in our country.
All right. Still talking about opposition, let's come to you, Dr. Mupambi. Sengezo Shabangu managed to recall dozens of opposition MPs using a legal loophole. So to what extent was this legalized destruction of the opposition coordinated from within the ruling party?
Thank you so very much. You are bringing in an interesting piece of the puzzle in the opposition matrix. Let me probably take you back to the just recent comeback of Nelson Chamisa. He said, and I quote, he said at one point he had to leave the playground. He left the constituency leaderless, and his only hope was to get someone to assume the role. Exactly to that point, Sengezo Chabangu assumed the role. Whatever that then Sengezo Chabangu had to do is now another subject. We are saying here is a flock left leaderless. The head is assuming someone is going to assume leadership, someone from nowhere. And this is what happened with Sengezo Chabangu. I want to draw this. Yes, we may begin to accuse that it is coordinated within ZANU-PF. That is a speculation. The opposition, in particular CCC, led by Nelson Chamisa, approached the election, approached a governance structure called a political party without any guidance, without any structure, without format. It was anyhow, right anyhow. And to that extent, this is what gave birth to Sengezo Chabangu and his matrix. And we saw, of course, so many opposition MPs being recalled from parliament simply because the constitution of the country creates such a loophole. We saw some being recalled from ZANU-PF case of the Chivi South, the MP like Honorable Pilar Zimbabwe and others, because there is such a loophole within parliament. I don't know why both opposition and ruling party are keeping such a loophole. But the Sengezo Chabangu took advantage of the vacuum that was there. Who is to blame for that? We are saying Nelson Chamisa is not only answerable to his other colleagues in opposition. We had entrusted him at one point. He was made to lead an alliance of opposition ahead of 2018. I was a candidate during that particular election. He was entrusted even further by the citizenry, given such a bigger constituency. And right now, he is answerable to that constituency. Next time they're going to vote him, they may actually constitute such a bigger constituency and he will leave them, assuming someone is going to fill the gap. It is a careless statement. It is a careless position by the leader. So going forward, we cannot blame ZANU-PF for capitalizing on the loopholes that have been created by the opposition. ZANU-PF don't undermine their appetite to cling on to power. We need, of course, to consolidate the strategies. I challenge Madam Masarira there, the president of LEAD. I challenge other opposition leaders. I challenge Nelson Chamisa. And ultimately, what the opposition players are doing is not shortchanging each other. They are shortchanging the citizenry. At one point, I was forced, I felt like lobbying to say, if opposition leaders are coming up this much, supporting the endeavors of ZANU-PF, maybe let's begin to think about a one-party state as a country so that people can begin to benefit. Right now, whatever that is happening in opposition is creating entrepreneurs within the silos of opposition. Opposition leaders are becoming entrepreneurs of those political parties. They are just small political silos, and they are not going to build up to a political capital that can remove ZANU-PF, that can stand in as an alternative that the people of Zimbabwe are looking for. So we feel changed as the citizenry have nowhere to go to. Ultimately, we may need to rethink. Are we going to continue to chase this air, or we sit down and consolidate something that is going to serve the people of this land?
All right. Well, I wish we had more time, but quickly in 1 minute, let's hear from Linda. What you think would happen if ZANU-PF successfully crushes the opposition and handpicks a successor? In 1 minute, please.
I think ZANU-PF has got that obligation within their structures to choose their successor. And I've been urging my fellow opposition counterparts for us to be able to sit down, find each other, and have ideological clarity, because that is what has been lacking within opposition. I can say it with pride that Labour, Economists, and African Democrats is the only opposition party in Zimbabwe that has got clear ideological clarity, an ideological document that you can find anytime. And I think that that is one of the major reasons why our opposition has failed to hold fort in Zimbabwe. It is just clear lack of ideological clarity, the strongman syndrome, and politics of populism. As long as we maintain politics of populism, we're not going anywhere. We need to shift from politics of populism to issue-based politics. And that is what has been lacking within the opposition in Zimbabwe. And the political economy itself is not doing justice to itself. And I believe that sometimes Zimbabweans deserve the leaders that they have within the opposition because of their cult-like followership that they have become, that they do not question things as long as they believe that this is our savior. And I think that is the demise of opposition politics in Zimbabwe. All
right. Well, such an interesting conversation, but we'll definitely have you again some other time to speak more on this. Thank you so much, Dr. Abigale Mupambi, political analyst, SADC region, and also Linda Tsungirirai Masarira, President, Labour Economists and African Democrats. We appreciate you for your time. Thank you.